Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento, and today we are talking about a hot topic that so many people hear about, but nobody actually takes the time to explore, which is a shame because it can be an absolute game changer. I'm speaking from experience because today's topic is mentoring, and mentoring was a key launch point for me early on in my entrepreneurial journey, and even to today, it's something that I love to leverage. And we have got the absolute queen of mentoring joining me for today's episode. Her name is Jodi Petersen. She is seriously incredible at what she does. She's got a really interesting background. I'm so interested to hear how she's leveraged that into starting her own company. She is the CEO of a company called MentorStrat, which we're going to talk all about that. But I want to tell you about Jodi first. Leading the mentoring consultant team, Jodi has over 20 years of corporate experience and 5 years running mentoring programs. Prior to starting MentorStrat, she led a mentoring program for a Fortune 50 company. She's a former 9-to-5er. We're going to talk about that part of her journey. When she was there, she was driving the strategy development and execution of the roadmap. In 2021, she helped secure a spot on Diversity Inc.'s top companies for mentoring list, and she was named Mentoring Champion of the Year by their software partner. I'm so excited for my interview today with Jodi Petersen. All right, Jodi, officially welcome to the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast.
Hi, Brian. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Heck yeah. Honestly, since I've seen your name on my calendar and I'm a big fan of what you're doing with your company, there's so many things that I want to dive into today. You heard the bio that I introduced to listeners, but fill in the gaps for us. Who is Jodi?
Yeah, I think you're right. I was a former 9-to-5er and got involved in mentoring about 5 years ago, running programs. And I just saw this really a need in the industry, really wanting to make mentoring accessible for more people than it was. And as we're thinking about the future of diverse workforce and the value in that, really the vision is to make mentoring accessible for all. So that requires a little bit different strategy and approach to mentoring for organizations. And that is what I help companies and associations and universities with today. So really excited to be on that journey, just helping make more of an impact in the mentoring space than I was able to do in my prior career.
Yeah, I love that. And as I said at the top of today's episode, mentoring played such a key role in my own entrepreneurial start. I started my first business when I was 19 years old, and I quickly found one of my advantages as a teenager and a college student was that everybody wanted to help me. So I was leaning on as many mentors as possible. But now as an adult, having been in the entrepreneurial game for 15 years, it blows my mind how we talk more about coaching and paying for coaches and all of that, as opposed to mentoring when that is such a valuable asset and it's a key strategy. I'd love for you to talk about the role that you see mentoring plays and how you think mentoring is often misunderstood in the wider marketplace, especially with coaching stealing so much of the attention.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think there is room for both coaching and mentoring, and sometimes the lines get blurred and between the relationship with a pair of people, and that's fine. There is room for that coaching within a mentoring experience if that's what's needed at that moment. What I would say about mentoring and the sort of misconceptions about it is, it used to be that mentoring was accessible only to top executives, right? People at the top of the company. They used it for succession planning, and the mantra was find someone who reminds me of myself, and develop them to be more like me. And what that did is created this environment of sameness within organizations. And so now as we're thinking about mentoring differently, how can we leverage the mentoring experience in a variety of different ways, whether it is that traditional one-on-one, whether it's peer mentoring, cohort group mentoring. We can use it and design it in specific ways to help companies meet different talent management or diversity, equity, and inclusion objectives. And so gone are the days where it's only available to, the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world. We want it to be available to everyone, but the approaches for designing those programs are different depending on what your intended impact or outcome of the program is. And so that's what we really help companies with, diving in to understand what are their specific needs, and then how can we create a program to help them meet those objectives.
Yeah, and I love the fact that already when you're talking about mentoring, you've talked about a formal program. And of course, that's what you do at your company, MentorStrat, which we're definitely going to talk about later in today's episode. But I think the interesting thing about viewing mentoring as having, these structured programs is that a lot of people, when they think of mentoring, they think of it as being more loosey-goosey. When I hire a coach, I know what the roadmap is. Whereas mentoring, some people may think that it is that looser approach to it. Talk to us about what a successful mentorship actually looks like.
Sure. You say loosey-goosey, I say out in the wild. we match people together, and then a lot of times we leave them out in the wild to do whatever it is that they think mentoring is. And that's where, some of the challenges with mentoring programs have come in, and some of the reasons why mentoring programs either aren't as successful as we want them to be, or they fail. There is a specific process around how, the first thing is that the mentee is responsible for driving the relationship. A lot of mentees come into relationships and they don't know that. They think, okay, I'm going to, connect with this person, and they're going to, impart all of this great wisdom on me, and I can just sit back and take it all in and then go make myself be like that person or emulate that person. So that's the first thing, is really trying to get mentees to understand their role. They're the driver in the relationship. They are the ones who are coming and setting goals, which they should do pre-work in thinking about what they want to get out of the relationship. And then there are various steps to take along the way. Some programs, depending on what the desired impact is, they may be more structured, where the program managers are providing different topics on a regular cadence for the partners to be working on. But if you're talking about just a traditional one-on-one career development mentoring type relationship, those can be specific to the development goals and objectives of the mentee, but they have to know what those are, and they have to be able to communicate those to their mentor so that they can work on achieving those goals. It's a different learning style than more of the, some of the traditional learning styles that you see out there, and people don't understand that. And that's why we are helping not only the companies understand the support and resources they need to provide, but also helping the participants themselves understand the dynamics of the relationship, and then what you need to do to be successful along the way.
Yeah, such a big takeaway. Just a few minutes here into today's episode. Jodi, I love that point about the onus really being on the mentees to get what they want out of it. So because this is the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast, and I know we've got such a diverse range of listeners, from wantrepreneurs who are still in those 9-to-5 jobs to beginner entrepreneurs, 6-figure, some 7-figure entrepreneurs that I know for a fact listen to this show. We've got the whole gamut of listeners, and they might be thinking, if they're on the mentee side of the equation, Jodi, they might be thinking, well, I don't know what I don't know. That's why I want a mentor. What are some of your tips for those mentees to figure out what are my objectives and how do I get the most out of this?
Sure. Yeah, that's an interesting question. If you don't know what you need to get out of your mentoring relationship or what you need to be working on, there's a couple different things that we recommend. Your mentor, if they recognize when you're first meeting with them that you do need help identifying what your strengths are, what your areas of opportunities are, then they'll help structure things like strengths assessments, skills assessments for you. They'll help you dive into what are your passions, interests, where are things going well in your career, and where do you see them not going well. They'll encourage mentees to go seek peer feedback from people that they are working with. And the way that they can do that is to say something like, we've worked together on X project. Where do you see, my strengths or areas where I was effective, and what can I be doing to be more effective? And that's a good way to seek that feedback from people that you're working with every day. And I think the other thing is to send those mentees back to have a development conversation with their leader. And this can be a sort of intimidating thing if they haven't done it before or if they're not used to doing it. And so there are some structured ways that the mentor can help prepare the mentee to go have that conversation with their leader. And that's really going to help give that level of information as to what can be worked on during the mentoring relationship. But it's also going to establish the mentee as a person who is interested in their own development and taking charge of their own development for their leaders. So it's a really powerful conversation for them to be having.
Yeah, we obviously are already talking a lot about the mentee side of the equation, but now I feel like in that last answer, you started teasing some of the mentor responsibilities, mentor reasons why it's such a beneficial relationship for all parties. And as someone who's been in the game for as long as I have, Jodi, I think this is one shared belief that you and I both have, which is I wish that more companies had mentorships. I wish that more successful entrepreneurs and business leaders wanted to be mentors. Talk directly about that. Why is it worth our time to be mentors?
Yeah, it's definitely mentoring is a mutually beneficial learning partnership. So a lot of times we'll think about it in terms of being valuable to the mentee. And yes, it is. But the mentors can also use those relationships to work on developing their own skills, whether they're leadership skills, communication skills, relationship building skills. And so mentors should also go into that relationship really trying to understand what they want to be working on. It's a very powerful way within a structured corporate environment or even association to demonstrate your ability to lead or to build relationships. So it has as much benefit and sometimes more for mentors. If you look at the data surrounding mentors and the mobility rates or the promotion rates within organizations of people who are mentors versus aren't, it is beneficial for them to be involved in those relationships because they do get promoted more. They are seen as more leaders in their organization. From a personal perspective, from an entrepreneur side, I think it's really important to have a mentor. And you'll see it, people all along their careers who built successful companies have had mentors. And so it's not something that you get to a point in time where you say like, oh, I'm super successful, I don't need a mentor anymore. You need to continue to have that sounding board and people giving you advice along the way. And I will say without having those people in my life guiding me along the way, even through this journey since I started this company, I definitely wouldn't be where I am right now.
Yeah, I love those insights, Jodi. One thing I've been particularly keen on asking you in today's interview is on your website, mentorstrat.com, which we'll talk about at the end of today's episode. But one of the things that stands out to me the most as a business owner is on your website, it says, as an employee benefit, mentoring is proven to boost engagement and retention. And that line really forced me to look back on my own entrepreneurial career so far in all the different companies that I've been involved in. And it made me realize my best hires, the ones that have been the most engaged, that have stayed the longest, and also even after they've left, they've gone on to do bigger and better things, and I've loved seeing their success. They are the ones that, in addition to the actual workload that I was giving them, there was that aspect of mentorship. Talk to us about, from the entrepreneur's perspective, talk to us about that blend of, hey, here's the work that I need you to complete, but how can we also support them in that mentorship role?
Yeah, it's interesting because it used to be, very much, you came to work, you did your job, you completed your tasks, and that's how you gauge success. And even early on in my career, that's the way that it was for me. But it took for me actually losing a job that an opportunity to get promoted within my own company that I was very well qualified for, to really realize the impact of being involved in your organization in a way that's different than just the tasks of your job. And so for me, the feedback that I was given was, yes, you're well qualified for this job, but you don't have enough connections in the organization. You don't have enough capital built up in the organization to be successful influencing people, because you just don't know enough people. And I'd been there for, at that point, like 6 years. So it was kind of a shock to me. And then I had to figure out, okay, how do I do something different? How do I make sure that I'm becoming involved? And whether that's through an employee resource group or leadership development groups, however you can be involved in your organization, it benefits your career because it makes you build relationships in a different way than you have been. And as a leader, a people leader, it's something that I promoted a lot with, the people who are on my team, because I found such incredible value in it when I realized it for myself. And so acting as sort of a mentor of sorts to them, really sharing what my experience was, and then supporting them in those efforts. And I think when the work gets overwhelming and the tasks get overwhelming, and everyone's like work task life is busy. Everyone's pretty, loaded up on things that they have to do. But to take that time can actually re-energize you. So I always say, like, I've gone into mentoring meetings feeling like, oh, I don't have time to be here. But I've never come out of a mentoring meeting saying that I wish I hadn't gone. I come out energized. I come out passionate, whether I'm the mentor or the mentee. And that is where that boost in engagement comes. So you're feeling more connected to the people in your organization. And then you're able to get back at the work with a little bit different passion, because you're not feeling as much burnout.
Yes, I absolutely love that, because I'm a firm believer that there are certain things that we do in this life and in business that every time we do them, we feel good. And you're right, it may feel sometimes like it's taking us away from the work, but you hit the nail on the head. You come back to the work with renewed energy, renewed excitement. So I absolutely love that. And Jodi, one thing I just want to add to something that you said, because I don't want listeners to gloss over this fact. I think it is such a key component of mentorship, is how you said that not only does it work on your people skills, your leadership skills, it helps deepen those relationships, but it actually does make you better at the things that you do. I always like to think that there are two ways to even more deeply understand the things that we already know. One, talk to a 5-year-old about it, because they're going to keep asking why, and it's going to force you to assess it. And the second way is to teach somebody else, even if it's something as simple as, I love simple analogies. Like when I teach people chess, for example, I'm super into chess, and they'll ask a question of, well, why didn't you move this pawn? And it makes me think, yeah, why didn't I? I almost take it for granted. Yeah. Yes. So I love that aspect of it. Clearly, there's so many benefits to the mentoring. I want to ask you this question, Jodi, and this is a double-sided question on the mentor side and the mentee side, because a lot of entrepreneurship is that imposter syndrome. It is the question of, am I ready to do this? Am I ready to be a mentor? Am I ready to be menteed? What's your answer when it comes to that?
Yes. The answer is yes. Like, it is yes. Here's what I always say about mentors. Everyone has something. Everyone is a collection of their own life experiences. Everyone has something to share with another person that can benefit from them. Even if you're not if you have imposter syndrome, or you're not an expert in something, or you wouldn't consider yourself an expert in something, there is incredible value in life, in organizations, to diversity of experience. And so being able to be in those relationships and share a different perspective, like you just said, hey, why didn't I move that chess piece? It can get mentors and mentees thinking about things differently in ways that they never would be challenged to do that if they were, staying contained within their own team, or with just, their own workload. So it does bring a different level of thinking to people. And everyone needs, from the entry level person in the organization, all the way up to senior leadership, everyone needs that next level connection to help them step and continue to learn and grow. And so it's vitally important at all stages of your career.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you've already talked about organizations a few times, which leads me to a part of your story that I'm super keen to dive into. And that is you, Jodi. You went from very big businesses, a very corporate world, to now the CEO of a freaking awesome company in MentorStrat. I want to hear more about your transition from traditional 9-to-5er to running the show.
Yeah, my dad was an entrepreneur. And so I always grew up around that, kind of spirit of, working for yourself and creating something for yourself. For me, I had 4 children and a foster daughter. And so it was a challenging when they were all young to think about doing that. And so I got to the point in my life where, I was making impacts at the organization that I was at and good ones, but I wanted something different for myself. I wanted to be building something for myself. What we do at MentorStrat is, a need that is in the market. There are a lot of companies or associations that have mentoring programs. I wish more did, and I think that we'll get there. But even the ones that are out there are needs to go from that traditional thought processes around what mentoring of old is into the new space. And some of that is just learning from people who've done it before, right? And that is why I decided to step out. One, because I wanted to be my own boss. Like, who doesn't? I will say that there's a lot of things that you have to think about that you never had to think about in your 9-to-5. And so that's been a little bit of a challenge for me just to figure out, okay, what do I focus on today? And things that I don't feel like I'm really good at. How am I working with people in my network and having people mentor me through some of those processes, like sales? I'm not a salesperson. I'm definitely not a closer. And that's something that I've had to learn how to do and get out of my comfort zone. So I've been working with a mentor on that. And it's helped me along the way. So, I'm really happy with where we are right now and what we're building here. And I just think it's going to add so much value to so many people's careers. So I'm excited to be doing it.
Yeah, obviously it puts a big smile on my face to hear when entrepreneurs are amplifying their impact. And it's something that you spoke about early on in the episode, whereas at your job, you were able to positively affect inside of one company, whereas now you are truly changing the way across multiple industries, not just companies, that the way people view mentoring. So I absolutely love that. But Jodi, you already alluded to the fact that it's not all rainbows and butterflies. And you said that it's forced you to look at some things differently. I'd love to hear a little bit about that because, and here's the big disclaimer. I feel like too many people, when we hear people on podcasts, for example, it always sounds seamless. And Jodi, obviously you and I both know no part of our journeys have been seamless. So shed some light on that aspect of it. I'm thinking about the entrepreneur to entrepreneur listeners that are listening to us right now while they're sitting at their job thinking, do I leave now? Should I leave? Is it scary? I'm going to lose benefits. Take us through all that.
It's a little intimidating. I'll give you that. It is wanting to make sure that you're at a place in your life that you can feel supported in doing this, through your family or, whatever support structure you have, because it can be really isolating. For me, I have partners, and so it hasn't been as isolating. I am used to working at home. I've done it for 11 years prior to starting the company. And so I thought I had some skills in place, but there are days where I sit back and I'm like, I'm either going to build this gigantic company or I should fold up shop today, right? So there's this balance of like your own internal imposter syndrome kind of coming out, and what do you have to do and learn and grow, and how do you stay focused on the things that are going to be the highest value activities for you, and then balance that with the administrative stuff that comes with having your own company. A couple things that I've done is I've started working with a coach who challenges me on those income producing activities. And, she always says, are you the one taking out the garbage? Because if you're the one taking out the garbage, you're paying a lot of money to have the garbage taken out, right? Because you could be working on those other things. And so I think when you're just starting out, that's something that you're thinking about. I also think that there's a what do you want to be? Like, what is your end goal of having this company? If you want to be a consultant and you're an independent consultant and you go work with various companies, that is where I first started. And then my thinking evolved because I saw some of the needs that clients had. And so now we have other offerings. We have a learning center with training for mentors and mentees and for program managers who are trying to create programs. And so the shift has been a little bit different, but with that shift into being more of an organization that has product offerings versus just a consultancy, there are different ways and different approaches and different activities that you have to take. So even for me, it's been a learning process over the last year of kind of figuring out, all right, what are your end goals? What do you want to be when you grow up? So it's definitely been interesting, a little bit lonely some days, really exciting some days. I will say that I've met so many people from all around the world. And that's been probably the most exciting thing for me.
Yeah, I love hearing all about the highs and the lows. And Jodi, in over 500 episodes, I think you're the first guest to let listeners in on a little bit of an entrepreneurial secret, which is that feeling of, should I just throw it all away today and never do this? It never goes away, truthfully. So if entrepreneurs out there or entrepreneurs are thinking that feeling goes away, it doesn't. Jodi just shared it with you. I feel the same thing from time to time. You just get better at dealing with it. So I love those insights, Jodi. I want to open up the floor because I do want listeners to hear more about what you're doing at MentorStrat because I think you are making such a big impact. Seriously, I also advise everybody, check out Jodi's website because you'll see so clearly the role that they fill for their clients. You'll see exactly how they help their ideal customers, and their messaging is so clear. The benefits are so clear. So there's a lot that you guys are doing right, Jodi. I'd love for you to share more about what MentorStrat does.
Sure. So we help organizations, whether it's a large corporation, a small business, an association with membership based, or other nonprofits and universities, build or scale or redesign their mentorship programs. And so even if you're a company that has an existing program, there are probably ways that the program can be improved upon. And so we're working with those people to make improvements or scale. A lot of companies who have mentorship programs, they don't have enterprise-wide programs. They have, IT is doing their thing over here, and HR or business operations might be doing their thing over here. And so we really help companies develop a mentoring strategy that is linked to their top talent management or diversity, equity, inclusion objectives. And then we help them design and implement programs to meet those objectives. And we also help them develop measurement strategies to track whether they are meeting those objectives. So for example, if you have a program that is meant to maybe boost engagement, boost first year retention of young professionals. So people in their first 5 years of their career, maybe they're leaving at a rate that you don't want. You spend a lot of time with interns and recruiting and all of that. You want them to stay at your company for more than 5 years. If your program is designed to do that, then you want to show the company that you're doing that. So you have to have measurement systems in place to be able to show the value back to the stakeholders, and we help companies do that. The other thing that we provide is the data shows that mentoring relationships can be up to 2.5 times more successful if the mentors and mentees are trained for the experience. And so I talked a little bit about that at the beginning where, sometimes mentees come in to the relationship, they're not sure what they're supposed to be doing. Mentors, same thing. And so they need skills in order to navigate the relationship, but also improve their own communication, giving and receiving feedback, listen deeply when you have a different perspective than the person that you're working with. And so we've developed MentorStrat Academy, which has currently 31 classes that you can take, and they're both for mentors and mentees. They're in the mentoring essentials area, as well as we have some classes for diversity, equity, and inclusion in mentoring relationships. And then we have classes for program managers. So we're trying to teach people in organizations to develop and run effective mentoring programs on their own. And being a mentoring program manager is a huge job. You have to be, it's like the jack of all trades. You have to be, you have to be a strategist. You have to be a communications and marketing person. You've got to, develop an operating model. And then measurement, right? Data analysis. So there's a lot of different components to doing it. And your traditional talent management or learning and development professional doesn't always have that whole set of skills or know what to do. And so we're also helping train those individuals and practitioners within organizations so that they can effectively run their programs.
Yeah, Jodi, so much to unpack in there, but one big takeaway that I want listeners to get from that is that success leaves clues. Go back and listen to how Jodi explained what MentorStrat does. I kind of queued it up because I said that you guys are so clear in your messaging, but I want listeners to really pick up on the fact that you speak the language of your ideal clients. Now, obviously, you have the advantage of you came from that world. You know exactly who you serve and you know how to speak to them. So I love the clarity that you provide there. Jodi, I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. I always love asking guests, what is your best advice for entrepreneurs and beginner entrepreneurs? But in your case, because you are so brilliant at all of this mentorship stuff, I want you to weave in your best advice for beginner entrepreneurs, particularly when it comes to finding a mentor and getting the most out of it so that they can actually grow their business this year.
Yeah, I would say definitely have a mentor, right? Every entrepreneur should have a mentor, and maybe not one, maybe two. So depending on what areas, what your business is about, what your skills that you bring to, because running your own business, it's a lot. You have to be a lot of different things. Just like I talked about with the mentoring program practitioners, you have to be a lot of different things. And not everybody's going to be good at all of those things. In fact, most people aren't. And so really identifying where you can leverage your strengths, but also where your areas of opportunity are, and then seek out mentors who can help you in those areas, I think is my best advice. For me, I have a business mentor who will help guide me along the entrepreneur journey, but then I also have a mentoring expert who is a mentor of mine who can help me with, continuing to evolve my thinking around the mentoring space. So the business aspect of it, yes, definitely engage a mentor there, but also depending on what you're doing in your company, continue to grow your skill sets around the services and offerings that you're provided. Because even though you may consider yourself an expert in something, that doesn't mean that there isn't something that you can learn. You can continue to learn and evolve and seek out those people who can help you. And I think one of the things that entrepreneurs, you start your own business and then you feel like, oh, I've made it, right? I have it made. Now I'm the owner of my own company, or I'm the CEO, and I don't need to continue to learn and grow. But that is probably the most essential piece of feedback that I would give to someone trying to start their own company. Don't try to do it alone. There are so many awesome people out there that are willing to help, who are ahead of you on the journey. Leverage them if they're willing to help. Yeah, take all the help you can get.
Yes, incredible advice. And the proof is in the pudding. You already heard Jodi say a few minutes ago that she's not a natural salesperson. So she seeks outside advice and counsel when it comes to sales. So I absolutely love that, Jodi. Incredible advice for entrepreneurs at all different stages in their journey. I've so enjoyed hearing your perspectives on all of these things. So as we come to the end of this episode, Jodi, I'd love for you to tell listeners where they can follow your work, where they can see everything that you're up to, and check out MentorStrat.
Yes. So you already mentioned our website, mentorstrat.com. We also have our academy. So if you're interested in training, that is academy.mentorstrat.com. You can get there through our website as well. But we also are on, the various socials. On LinkedIn, we have a YouTube channel where we're actually posting a couple times a week. We'll post, we call them mentoring minutes. So they're just little tips for mentors. The videos are about 2 minutes long, so it's not a big time consuming thing, but they're just small nuggets of information about how you can be a more effective mentor. And so we're really trying to balance putting our own information out there and putting little learnings and just little nuggets of information that you can use. You can take those learnings and apply them immediately to your mentoring relationship. Our goal really, obviously, we have the whole business aspect, but if we're helping people develop better mentoring relationships and giving people the confidence to enter one, that's just better for the world. So you can see us on YouTube. You can find us on LinkedIn. We're on all the socials. So check us out.
Heck yeah. So this may be the end of the episode, but for all of you listeners, it should be the beginning of you thinking about and taking action when it comes to mentoring, whether you are ready to be a mentor and that's something that you're interested in to expand your own skills and to pass it on to others, or you'd benefit from being a mentee, or both. This should be the beginning of your journey on there. And you heard Jodi talk about her website, mentorstrat.com. And I love content creators. I love that you're putting awesome content out into the world as a resource for entrepreneurs, for business leaders, for people at all different stages of their business journey. So wherever you're listening to this episode, check the show notes. You'll find all the links that Jodi just mentioned. And Jodi, on behalf of myself and the entire Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur audience, thanks for joining us on today's episode.
Thank you. I've enjoyed being here.